Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And those of you that are in New Zealand, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We do have quite a few participants in the Zoom call today, so I'm just going to wait a few minutes just to get as many people in before I get started. What I will let you know to start off with is that I have muted everyone on the Zoom call just so that we don't have any background noise, and the audio for you will be quite clear so you can hear me clearly. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat functionality in Zoom to ask any questions. I'll type a message in there shortly just so that you can see it appear on your screen, and you can utilise that to ask me questions throughout the Zoom call. I'll try and keep an eye out on the chat to see any questions come through and answer them along the way if I can. There is a lot of content to go through, so I will sort of check in on it after each of the segments of data that we're going to go through just to see if there's any questions. If I am unable to answer that question, or if I don't have the answer on hand at the moment in time, I will get back to you after the Zoom call. And the Zoom call will also be recorded as well, so I'll send that recording through for you guys later on this afternoon so that you can refer back to it. There's going to be a lot of information that we're going to go through, so it'll be a good reference point for you later on to rewatch it again. So we'll just give a few more minutes before we get started. Okay, I think we'll get started. As I said, there's quite a bit of information that we're going to go through, and I do appreciate that you've taken time out of your day to join me here. We know that for a lot of you, it's quite busy in the workshop, so we appreciate you making the commitment and coming to this Zoom call. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Susanna. I'm one of the team members of the operations team at Workshop Software, so I probably have spoken to quite a few of you already over the phone or answered any support emails that have been sent through. In regards to business intelligence, I will shorten that down to BI. It's what we refer to it internally, and it's not as long for me to say each time. So with the BI, this was the purpose of it was to build basically a tool to equip you guys as business owners with information on the financial health status of your business in terms of gross profit and productivity, as well as an opportunity to identify any potential performance or sales opportunities and threats. So throughout the process of designing and building and testing BI, we have had your automotive peers have input on the whole development and testing phase. So they've been able to let us know what has worked, what hasn't worked, what they would like to see. I would also like to preface is that this is the first stage of many phases for the BI development. So we already have a lot of other plans on developing it further. But as with anything on workshop software, we would love your feedback, because we can design it as much as we want to, what we think you guys need and what we think will be helpful to you. But you guys are the ones that are using it every day on a day-to-day basis with your business. So your feedback is invaluable. So we do want that feedback as much as possible. Just a reminder for anyone that has joined us as well, recently I have muted everyone just to keep the audio as clear as possible for everyone. If you do have any questions, please use the chat functionality in Zoom to ask any questions. I'll keep an eye out on the questions throughout the call and answer as many as I can during the call. But it is quite a few information to go through in this session, so bear with me, and the Zoom session is also being recorded, and I'll send that through to you guys later on this afternoon, and you can reference it at a later date when you are able to also see your data as well. Okay, so we'll get started. First of all is with the workshop software. The screen that you are seeing is our demo site, so it is the demo account that we use for doing demos for potential users and current users. So it isn't going to be a realistic reflection on a workshop. So just bear that in mind when we look at the data. It's just more, we're going to go through how to navigate through it and where the information is coming from, as well as what you potentially can take from it. At the end of the day, the business, your business, you have that a lot more intuitive information about your business than we do. We can just look at the data, but without sort of historical information and even environmental information, it's hard for us to actually tell you what that data is saying to you. We can see what it may imply, but it's up to you to sort of take what you want from it. So first thing is that with the BI, it is a new feature that is included for our gold subscription users only. There is no additional cost for you to access this, and you can turn it on and turn it off at any time. Please note that when you do turn it on for the first time, it does take a few minutes for it to load up, for the graphs to load up, because ultimately what's happening is the system needs to pull all your data from your database and reproduce it in readable graphs and also interactive graphs as well. With the BI, it is available for any admin users in your account as well. So you can choose who you want to turn the BI on for. And to do that, simply go to settings, user setup/maintenance. And for any users that you have set up admin for, if you click on the blue pencil icon for them, you will then be able to turn on business intelligence for them. Just simply turn on this toggle to be active and then click save. And again, it will just take a few minutes for it to appear for them. We would highly recommend that you have a look at this data first, see what it shows you first before you decide who can have access and see the data. So what we'll do is that you'll probably notice that your home dashboard is different. The information that was being displayed here before is now no longer here. It has moved to the overview tab, and I will go through that in a second. But I did want to highlight for you as well the start icon on that home tab to start your jobs, print your jobs for the day. And for those of you that are integrated with Capricorn, this is where you'll download your CSV. So these still remain here, they have not moved, okay? And the reason why I point this out is that this star icon in these following tabs do have a different functionality. So I just wanted to highlight that for you. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we'll go into the overview tab. You will find that with the overview tab, you also have a search date functionality up here, so you can enter a date period and click apply, and it will then affect all the graphs. It will change the graph details down here on the bottom. What I will also highlight is from your old dashboard, your open jobs, open bookings, unassigned bookings, open orders and service dues and registration dues are all here. Now with business intelligence at this stage, in this first phase, the data is updated overnight. So first thing in the morning, when you log in again, you will have updated information. So this will be different in regards to your open jobs table here, because on the old dashboard, it would update immediately. So for any staff members or any other computers that you have that you do not have the BI turned on, the dashboard for those logins will remain the same as per usual. So if you wanted to, you could have BI turned on one particular computer, in your office computer, for example, so that you could see it, but your reception or anyone else that has an admin login on another computer will still see the old dashboard. And like I said, you can turn BI off at any time. If you're not going to be looking at this on a day-to-day basis, you could turn it off and then have your old dashboard still there. We are still looking, like I said, this is still phase one. Any feedback that you guys give to us, we will take that into consideration for any other updates down the track. So always let us know if this works for you, or if it doesn't work for you, or anything else that you want BI to be able to show you, let us know. So with these, if you do click on them, they are still interactive. So they will open up a new tab. For example, if you click on open jobs, it will open up a new tab and take you to the job center, where you will see all the active jobs in your job center. Okay, so at the moment on our demo site it says 79. If we go into here, there will be a lot more than the 79 that's showing on there. With your registration, the service dues and the registration is due in the old dashboard. If you click on them, it would show you a report of who's due to come in. At this stage, this isn't clickable through to that report, but we are implementing that soon, so we'll keep you up to date on that. In regards to the graphs below as well, I'll show you as well the star icon you'll notice here. If you click on that, you'll see that the actions are now different. So the toggle advanced filters, this is great when we start to go and drill down in any of the graphs and you drill down quite far and you want to turn off specific filters. This is a good way to turn it off. If you click on this, you've got a sidebar here. As we drill down, there'll be more filters that appear on here. And if you want to remove them, you can just simply click on the toggles to turn off. And I'll show that to you in a moment as well. I'll click on the grey arrow here to close that up. Okay, so the first one I'll go through is your sales and cost by date. So this sales and cost by date is based on all your processed invoices to date. And it gives you, the blue line is your total sales excluding taxes. And it also defaults to show you your lifetime of data that you have in workshop software. So the longer you've been with us, the more data you're going to have in here, the more that you can see. And your purple line is your total cost for that year, excluding any taxes. So as you can see, as you hover over any points on the graphs, it will show you more data as well. And not only that, is that these legends on the bottom of the coloured legends, you can click on these at any point and you can turn that particular data off and only see the sales for your lifetime in workshop software, for example. All the graphs, like I said, are interactive. So if you right click on the graphs, especially the sales ones, you can then see, because I hovered over the spot for 2017 and right click, I can now drill down further for the data, for the sales data for 2017. So for example, if we look at the calendar hierarchy, I can let the system know I want to see it per quarter, per month, or per date. So if we switch it to quarters, the graph will then change and show me quarter 1 through to 4 for 2017. And it will show you the total sales of each of those quarters and also the total costs. And again, if I only want to see sales, I can turn that cost line off and it will disappear. You'll also notice that as I drill down into that, you will see the filter up here as to what I have filtered down to. So I'm looking at 2017 and quarters to date. If I wanted to look at quarter 2 and I want to look at the specific months in quarter 2, I can choose that and it will now show me April, May and June of 2017 on the data there. Okay. If you wanted to go back to the main screen, the default screen with the lifetime data on there, simply click on this cross here and that will remove that data and will remove the filters and you will go back to the original graph. With these graphs as well, and all of them, you will notice as you hover over them, you'll have these tools come up. With the vertical dots here, if you click on them, you can download both the image. So if you needed to do reporting of any sort, if you wanted to share specific information with your team, you can actually go and download the image. And basically it takes this image for you as a PNG, and then you can add it to any other documents that you want. And also you can download it as a CSV file, and it will be an Excel sheet that gives you all the figures in there. So you will see here that, there's the years. You've got your total sales in this column, and then your total costs in this column as well. So you can then utilize that if you like to as well. And the more you drill down to it, then the more data that will show, but it will reflect on the data that is showing on the graph itself. Okay, so then the next one, your mechanic performance. So this is drawn from the jobs that the mechanic are assigned to, or they are currently still clocked onto as well. Your red column is the cost to you as to have that mechanic working on any jobs for you, and your purple column is the amount charged to customers for the job that that mechanic has been clocked onto and is working on. So ideally, obviously, for Bill Turner, this is not the ideal situation. You do not want to see that the cost of him working on those jobs is more than what you're bringing in. You really want it to be in reverse so that your purple is much higher than your red and be more profitable. Just to let you know as well, I think it's also a great way to have benchmark is that on average for workshop software users, what we have seen for high performing mechanics, they are averaging making a $15,000 per month gross profit for workshop owners. So that's also a good sort of benchmark for you to have a look at. Keep in mind this is over, because this is over a lifetime, this data is also over a lifetime as well. So if you then drill down into a particular month, you'll see all these graphs start to change as well. It's because it's reflective of that particular month. When you drill down into any of these graphs as well, you could, like I said, you can have this option of seeing the filter and you can clear it here, but you'll also have this clear selection option as well. So if you click on that box, that will clear that data again and everything will revert back to the defaults. Okay, so mechanic performance, again here you can go and download the image or CSV file. So this is available on all of the graphs that are available in workshop software. Next one we'll go through is messages sent. So this is going to measure all of your emails, SMSs, and for those of you using our communication center documentation, printout documentations that you're sending to your clients. And this includes automated messages as well as independent messages. So your service reminders, booking reminders, rego due reminders, they are included, as well as when you send out an email with your invoice, for example, that are independent and solo messages, they are also recorded. And again, you can click on these and it will remove that particular set of data, or you can turn them back on as well, easily by clicking the icons. All right, so next down here on the bottom left is your payables and receivables outstanding by quarter. So your payables outstanding is if you are entering your supplier invoices into workshop software, it will basically show any supplier invoices that still need to be paid. And your receivables outstanding shows any customers that still have an outstanding balance due. So it's a good way to have a look at what you've got coming in, what you've got going out as well. So in terms of cash flow, if you are entering everything into workshop software. Okay, so again, the data in the BI is dependent on the data you put into workshop software. The more of the functionalities you use and the more consistently you use them, the more data and the more consistent data you'll also have as well. When you go and look at your data in workshop software and BI, if you do have any questions or if there's anything that's standing out as doesn't look quite right, please feel free to give us a call. We're more than happy to look into that for you and try and work out what's causing that. And we are also offering anyone that wants to one-on-one consultations if you want to actually have us look at that data and sort of work with you on finding opportunities that are there for you as well. The next graph we'll look at is the vehicle days since last in by postcode. So what this is using is the measuring the vehicles that have been last in, what was their last in date, so that it uses the last in date field from the vehicle profile, and the postcode of the customer that the vehicle is attached to. Now, obviously, if you don't have any data in the last in date field, or if you don't have the customer's postcode in their profile, that data won't be captured in this graph. So this is where we say it does depend on how much information you're actually entering into workshop software. So from these graphs, what you can see is then the spread of your customers and what postcodes they are coming from. That can help you with your marketing activity if you do see that there is an opportunity to increase the number of customers or vehicles that are coming in from a particular postcode, or if there is one that is a standout. It's worthwhile having a look at what you're doing in that area. Is it purely because of their location that's close to you? And if it's not, why is it that they are coming to you if they are further afield? So that's always a good thing to look at. In terms of the graph itself, you'll see three colours. You've got your green, your yellow and red. The green means, and if you hover over them, you'll see the numbers. It will mean the number of vehicles that have been in the last 6 months. The yellow will be any vehicles that have been in between 6 and 12 months, and vehicles that have been in more than 12 months time frame. So ideally what you want to do is you want to reduce the number of vehicles that are in that red column, which means your customers are bringing their vehicles in frequently in the 6 to 12 month range, which is what you want to see. So if you do see that, then this is where I would think that, you know, there's an opportunity to bring these vehicles back in a bit more frequently. Talking about developments and what we have already identified going further, one of the things that I have already suggested to our development team as well is that for a user, if I look at this and I see that, okay, there's a lot of vehicles here that haven't come in from the last 12 months, I want to know who they are. So what we have suggested as well is that should you click on that red bar, at the moment it doesn't show you who they are, but it should bring a report out to you to let you know exactly who those customers are. And then obviously in a perfect world, it would link up to your communications center so that you can then contact them and send them an offer or send them something to remind them to come back to you. So that is already something that we have asked our development team. So like I said, anytime you have any sort of feedback on how you could utilize it better, let us know. And again, you can also turn off any of these sections so that you only see what you feel like might be the more important bit of information, such as the cars that were in 12 months or more, but you can always turn them back on quite easily like this. Okay. The last graph on the overview is the invoice analysis by revenue. So this is a breakdown of the total of the revenue, the breakdown of the revenue on all the invoices that you have in workshop software. So this does include any open jobs, closed and processed invoices, as well as quotes. So please let us know if you want quotes included in that. We have included it all at the moment, but again, let us know what works for you, what you want to have. If you want to know what's just already confirmed in the pipeline or what has been paid, or to know exactly what's done, that's also not a problem. Let us know. In all of these graphs as well, like I said, you can hover over them and you can see more information. So at the moment it's going to show you your percentage, but if you hover over them, it'll actually show you the dollar amount as well. And a lot of the cases where there is an other, they will have you give you more information, which you'll see when we go to the customers and also vehicles. But you notice that all these graphs started to change as well when I clicked on just the other portion of it. Okay. So this is the overview tab. One thing you probably have noticed is that there is 2 grey bars down the side here. So this is obviously your main window when you scroll up and down, but you also have another grey bar down here on the actual BI where you can scroll down to see more of what's in the graphs, but doesn't move the rest of the page. Let's quickly check if there's any questions. Okay, nothing so far. All right, so we'll move on to the next tab, which is the customers tab. From here on in with the customers, vehicles and products, one of the first tabs you will see is your total revenue by customer, by vehicles or by products, as well as the average dollar sales. All of the revenue or sales graphs are always going to be excluding taxes, but you'll be able to see all that data come through. Let me just refresh the screen. So while this is loading, for those of you that are with that have a Xero integration, I know that yesterday Xero did do an upgrade to their software, and it did disconnect the integration of workshop software to Xero. So that's why you are seeing you did see a blue notification bar at the top of workshop software in the dashboard that said to reintegrate to connect your workshop software account to Xero. We believe that there may still be an issue with Xero at the moment, which is stopping. It's allowing you to integrate, but it may be stopping invoices and going through. So I just want to let you guys know that we are looking into it and we're investigating that. So keep an eye on the dashboard. We'll let you know as soon as we know more information as well. Okay, so back to our customers tab here. We have our revenue and average dollar sale by date. And again, this is in lifetime, and you can drill down into any of these areas if you wanted to for more information in that particular year. Okay, so you can drill down to 2017 and you can then show per month what's your average revenue, revenue and average dollar sale by your customers. Next, we'll move down to number of services versus other jobs. So your number of services and you've also got repairs and others. So with the services and repairs, for this to pick up, you do need to use your service labor line where you've got your service toggle turned on, or your repairs labor line, and the service toggle is turned off. And that's how these numbers are, that's how this graph picks up these numbers and what type of job that invoice might be. The others is going to be any invoices where you do not have any labor line whatsoever. So if you're selling a part or if you're selling any accessories and there's no labor included in that invoice, that is where that will break down to as well. So again, you can hover over any of them to find out the actual numbers itself or download the CSV file. In regards to your top 50 customers, pretty self-explanatory, gives you basically a graph of your top revenue customers. So the graph will default to the top revenue. You can also click on the average sale, so your top average sale clients, and that will change as well. And also your average gross profit. So obviously what you want to be able to see is your top revenue client should also be, on average, you be in the top 50 for your gross profit as well. You want all your clients to be profitable. But if they aren't, then it's also something that you need to potentially investigate as to why that particular customer isn't as profitable as others. In this particular tab as well, what you'll see is that obviously in your top 50, the graph makes up the percentages, but obviously we talk about top 50 clients. So how do you see all the other 50 clients? If you click on the others section of the pie, the graph will then change and show you the other clients that you have there as well. Okay, you'll notice that there is a back button that you can click back and it will revert back to the original graph there. Yes, that's right, Francine. I'll also show you a table as well in a moment about the top, the income per customer. That will show you everyone as well. And again, you can do a search by any date period. It will show you the income per customer during that date period as well. The next one is the number of, this is your customer source percentage by invoice. So the customer source, there's actually two different areas in workshop software that you can enter the customer source. The main one, which most of you will see, is in the customer profile. When you go into any of the profiles, you will have the customer source located on the right-hand side here. This was has been in workshop software for quite some time and was originally built on the fact that you want to record when this customer first comes to you. Why did they come to you? Where did they come from? Was it word of mouth? Did they see an advertisement? And you create it when you add it in when you created the customer profile. When we were developing business intelligence, what we realized, and we looked at the workflow of when someone creates an invoice for a customer, when a customer comes in, and for a customer that comes in multiple times, is that the workflow doesn't make sense to go and change the customer source in here. And not only that, is that just because a customer came to you originally by word of mouth, what we wanted to track was what's making them keep returning to you. So whether you want to then measure if the reminders are what keeps the customer coming back, in which case then you will see the value in using the automatic reminders, or whether you've done a promotion. And what kind of promotion? Was it an advertising? Was it Facebook? Or was it that you had a special on, an Easter special, for example, and you want to measure if those campaigns were successful? Then what we do now is that in the BI graphs, where it pulls that customer source from, is when you go and create the invoice for a customer, you will now see that there is a customer source field here. This is where the data is being pulled from for BI, because again, we want to measure each time a customer comes back, what is it that they're coming back for, and what activity you're creating or not creating for that matter, that is causing these customers to come back. Because if there's something that's going to stand out in terms of the reason why they're coming back, you'll want to maximize on that as well. So this is where that's coming through. This field was only added into workshop software, I think, in May 2020. So it is relatively new. So most customers that are looking at their BI now will probably find that that particular graph, there's no data in there because they haven't been using that field. So just be aware that if it does show no data on there, that's probably why, because most people haven't realized to go and use the customer source field in invoices. Because we haven't really told you why to use it. So now we have. So with this graph again, you'll be able to see basically the source of why that particular job came back to you, whether it was word of mouth or whether you actually had a specific campaign. And you can also look at total income for the different campaigns as well, which I think is also very important if you're going to be looking at doing certain campaigns or advertising campaigns. You really want to know what your return on investment is going to be. So how much dollars you've spent on that advertising and how much dollars you have had come back into the store to measure how successful that campaign is going to be. So I think this is going to be, going forward, something that's going to be quite useful in terms of marketing and what you're going to do to get customers back in through the door. Next, we'll go down to income per customer. So this is what I was mentioning before, Francine. You, as a default, this will show you the income per customer, so your customer name, your total income excluding taxes, the number of invoices you have for them in workshop software, the total per invoice, average total per invoice, and then average gross profit, which I think is also a very interesting one to see. In all of these tables, and you'll see this more now in the customers, vehicles, and products tables, products tabs, I should say, you can click on these arrows, and these arrows will then sort that data for you from highest to lowest or lowest to highest. So if you click on that, it's obviously gone highest to lowest at the moment. If I click on that again, it will reverse it and reorder all the data from then lowest to highest. So these guys haven't done anything with us at the moment. So they've costed us money, but we haven't made any money. Like I said, this is a demo data, so it's not realistic. But you can do this on any of the columns and see, for example, who's going to be your most profitable client. When you scroll down further to the page as well, you will then see that there is a number of pages, so you can keep scrolling, and this will show you all of your customers for the lifetime as a default. If you wanted to look for a particular period in time, you can go back to the top here and enter in a date range. So for example, we're going to put in 1st of January of this year. Click apply. And then the data will then change to show you, including the graphs, what each of these topics are going to show you for that particular period. So you can see here, this is for January this year. These are the clients. This is the grand total for the month. And then your profitability. And again, you can sort these by the columns as well. Just make sure you'll notice that once I put in the date range here, this filter appeared. So you can turn that off, clear the filters on there by simply clicking on that. And then all your graphs will revert back. And click on the grey arrow to close that filter page to maximize your page again. Okay. You have a lot of customers who split their invoices to a customer called Farmlands. Assume all these will show sales through Farmlands, and there's no way to track how much the original customer spent. Yeah, so if you have a customer profile that's going to be called Farmlands, then Farmlands will have its own amount on there. Francine, I'll get the guys to have a look at this further for you, and this may be something that we'll need to develop further with BI to show something whereby if it's a split customer with their invoices, how that's going to get shown for you as well in terms of the actual customer that brought in the business for you. So leave that with me. I'll have a chat to the team and get back to you on that one. Okay, so that's the customers BI tab. We'll go into vehicles now. And again, the first graph that will load up will be the number of sales, and this is going to be based on the by make and model and by unique invoices that have been processed as well. Go back in here. So this is the first graph here that we're talking about, number of sales by vehicle make. Okay. When again, if you hover over, this is all dependent again on the information that you put in. So it does rely on you and your staff to put in the make and model, and further down the track as well in these graphs, the fuel types, transmissions, all that data. The more they put in there, the more you're going to have as well, and the more you can break out that data and have a further look into it. So you can see all your different makes. Again, if you click on other, it will show the rest of the breakdown of the types of make vehicles that you have. And again, you can click the back button to go back to the original graph. If you then right click onto any of this, any section of the pie, you can then also break down to model and year as well. So out of the Toyotas, what Toyotas is the workshop working on? And this will be interesting to see what kind of vehicles that you are working on, if there's any particular ones that come up more often than not. So that'll be interesting for you to then have a look. And again, click on the X here to clear that graph to go back to the default. Next, we'll go on to average sales versus number of vehicles. So this is based on your closed or processed invoices. Your line is your average dollar sales. Okay. And the green is the number of invoices, the blue is the number of unique vehicles. And again, you can turn any one of these off if you want to look at specific data. So just let you know as well, invoices that are not associated with the vehicle will not appear on here because again, we are in the vehicles tab. So this is always going to be data that's related to vehicles in your system as well. Revenue and costs by make. This was quite an interesting one when I first saw this, and it did take me a little bit of time to understand what it was showing me. Basically, this is a breakdown of the by the make of vehicle and how much it costs you to work on that vehicle and how much revenue that a vehicle brought in for you. For most workshops or the general trend of it, you will have some vehicles that are obviously going to be down here that doesn't make you really, it doesn't cost you a lot of money, but also doesn't make you a lot of money because it's quite competitive and it kind of works on a diagonal along here. What you do want to see is obviously these bubbles that are going to be along this line here, or even better down in this corner, because it means that you made more revenue than it actually cost you. So you want to see more down in this area here. But if it's on that diagonal, then that is on a natural trend on it. These circles, you'll notice some of them are larger than others. The size are different. The size difference will be based on the number of vehicles that fall into that category, number of, make of vehicles that fall into that category. So the bigger it is, the more vehicles that you're working on that particular make. And again, you can always drill down into them a little bit further. So if it's a particular make, you would say, well, is there a particular model that is standing out and being more profitable for me? If that's the case, you may want to then try and get more of that make and model into your workshop so that you can work on more profitable cars. Because at the end of the day, you don't want something like this whereby it doesn't make you that much money, but it costs you more. So your profit margin on these are going to be not as great. So it's always good to sort of have a look and see what the trends are in terms of the vehicles you're working on, and potentially make a decision on focusing on cars that are a bit more profitable for you. This next one here is total revenue by types. Again, this one was one that did make me sort of think about it when I was looking at this. And again, this is going to be dependent on the information is put in about the vehicle. So this is all about the vehicle's total revenue by types. So the blue circle, the blue ring is going to be the make of the vehicle. And then the red is your drive type and your green is your fuel type. When we pulled BI into the system and we had a look at some of the workshop accounts just to see what information was pulling through. I think the fuel type was probably one of the biggest things that weren't entered in. So you may see that there is a big ring that's showing no fuel type. It's because it hasn't been entered in there. Ideally, is what you want to see is a lot of these breakdowns on vehicles, on the types of obviously makes of vehicles. And again, I think you can, okay, not on this one, you can't go down to models, but yeah, the more makes, drive types and fuel types that you have, the better information you'll see. And also you'll see a trend in what's changing in your workshop as well. For example, if you've got more and more diesel vehicles coming in, and also going into the future with more and more news of vehicle brands going electric as well, is seeing when that starts to come through as well to your workshops. So it'll be an interesting thing to see over the next couple of years of how this will actually change. So this will always be something that I think when you first look at it will be a little bit confusing when you first look at it. And all of this data is a lot of information to take in. So do take the time to have a look at each one. And again, if you have any questions, you can always give us a call and we're happy to run through it with you. The next graph here is your next service due by date. So this is going to be based on the next service due field being populated. It also means that if there's any invoices that you're processing for that vehicle where you're doing a service, you are using the service label line, because the next service due date field won't populate unless you're using the service label line that has a service toggle turned on and your service interval entered in as well. So this does require this next service date field to be populated to be in here. So if it's not populated, you may not see much data in here. Okay. With the graph, what it is showing you is that the grey areas are the dates in which you don't have a vehicle due to be serviced on that particular date. The blue means that there is, and you'll see that there's different shades of blue as well. So the darker the blue, the more vehicles that are due to come in. The lighter it is, the less vehicles that are due to come in. Now, this does not mean that these vehicles are booked in. It just means that they are due to come in. So again, if you're using your service due reminders, you'll be able to see how many probably are going to be sent out to your customers, and ideally how many are going to be coming in as well. And we'll go through that in a second as well in the next graph to see how many messages are sending out for services and how many you are actually completing as well. With this graph, what we think is also good, and you can take from this as well, is that if you do have big gaps of grey, is one potentially is looking at your vehicle data and seeing if you do have service due dates in that field. And then once that is populated, you'll probably then see a much better piece of information here. Also, for labour purposes, if you have staff that are wanting leave and you can see that there is quite a few services that are due to come in, then that may help you make that decision. But again, that also depends on how much of your business is servicing versus repairs in any other type of business. So obviously we can't answer that for you, and you know your business a lot more than we do, but that's where we see it could be helpful as well for you. Okay, next graph down the bottom. This is again based on your service due date, and this comes from the graph we just talked about. So with this graph, what you will see is the green icon means that the green bar is the number of service reminders that were sent out. Your purple is the number of services you completed during that time period. And then the blue is the difference. So ideally what you want to do is you want to see this scenario where you've sent out X amount of reminders, but you've done a lot more services. But at the end of the day, you want this purple graph to be higher than your green. So your reminders are working for you. Okay, you don't want it the other way around where you're sending a lot of messages but having less services completed. So it just sort of gives you an idea of, are the reminders working for you and what you're getting from every reminder that you're sending out. Yeah, so this will help with that. Just check if there's any questions. I think so. Okay. Next one is our products. So I think this is probably going to be something that's really interesting for a lot of people. This is based on the products you have entered in and also the sales of the products as well. So your first one is your revenue and average dollar by sale. All excluding taxes again. So your average is your line. Your light purple is the total cost of the products you have sold. Your dark purple is the total sales of products as well. Your number of products sold based on the different categories. So again, you can have a look and see what that is going to be. And again, if you break it down to the year in terms of the sales, you can then see also how that breaks down for each of the categories as well. When you go by date as well, weeks and date, you will see that obviously the graph is only so wide. You can move this to look at a particular period and it will shorten this graph. Well, it will show you better detail in those particular weeks as well. So this is from weeks 32 to 51 of the year. So you can always move this along so you can have a better view of each of those weeks in the year. Then your product income. So this is going to be based on whether you're using product types and product groups when you're setting up your products as well, so that you can see, again, over lifetime, what is the breakdown of the products that you're selling. Okay, so again, if you break it down to a particular year, you'll see the data for that particular year. Further down here in these tables, we then have the best-selling products on here. So you've got product item code, the quantity that you've sold, total income, profitability on that particular product. And again, you can sort by the columns here by clicking onto that. If you want to see what's your most profitable. Oh. That's your cost there. You can click on the profitable column and that will then move the most profitable one to the top, which always should be your labour. If you scroll down here, you've got your line graph here. This is some of the things that we are looking at fixing as well, so that it appears you don't have to scroll left and right. But you'll see that there's multiple pages here. So this is showing all of your products again as to, you can go through each of the pages here. Then on the right-hand side here is going to be your inventory. So you can then see at a glance what your inventory is looking like at the moment. Item code, product code, quantity on hand, quantity that's reserved if you're using reserve stock, quantity available as well. With the item codes as well, one of the feedbacks we've already given to our team is the product code, the item codes could be just a whole series of numbers and letters. It doesn't really mean anything. So one of the things that we've suggested already is that if you hover over it, it will give you a description or the proper name for that product so you can have an understanding of what it is. The other thing that we're looking at doing is also sorting it by supplier, because I think that will also open up the opportunity for you to talk to specific suppliers, especially if you've had an increase of spend on selling their products. Then that will help you, give you that information, that data that you can then go and have that conversation with suppliers as well and get a better rate from them, for example. So that they are all things that we already have on our list to add to BI in regards to products. And then the last one in here as well is that if you're using your minimum and maximum fields, product fields, this will also let you know any products that you have on hand that are less than the minimum that you require. And so this will then help you know exactly what products you need to order straight away to get you back onto to meet your minimum numbers and do your automatic stock orders in workshop software as well. So that's all the graphs and where the data pulls from for you in terms of BI, this first phase of BI. Like I said, there's a lot of information here. It did take us quite a bit of time just to understand what was being shown to us, even when we first looked at it. For myself, I wasn't here for the actual development of it. But I think it's certainly a lot of potential here. And like I said, this is still just the first phase of BI. I'll repeat again, if you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call or send us an email to support@workshopsoftware.com. especially if you see anything that doesn't make sense for you. And if you want to sit down, for example, with Alan, our onboarding coach, who is also accredited bookkeeper. He loves these databases. He loves looking at this sort of stuff. BI is one of those things that just gets him very, very excited to get out of bed each day. So he would love to, you know, have it. If you want to have a consultation to see how you can maximize this, he's certainly available for that. So just get in contact with us. As you may know, he's a very busy man, so get in contact with us early so we can book you in with a session with him. Okay. So as you can see, this is all data that's pulled from your, this is information that's pulled from your data that's in workshop software. And for those of you that have been with us for quite a while, there is a lot of data that can be in here. If you were to go out to the marketplace and get a BI specialist or even your accountant, bookkeeper, or even business coach to look at your raw data and extrapolate this information for you in a once-off report, it would take them hours, if not days, depending, again, how much data you have to come up with a static report. And so given that, it can easily cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, depending on how much data you have. So that's why for us, we're really excited that we can have this included in our gold level subscription for you guys. It's such a great value because this is constantly going to get updated. So at the moment, it is updating overnight, but we are planning on moving that update forward so that it updates more frequently. We will constantly be testing it as well, because as we make it more frequent, basically we're asking the system to constantly draw from your database to pull all that information out to then extrapolate these graphs. So it will take resources from the server. And the last thing we want is to create more frequently run reports, but it will impact on the actual operations of workshop software for you, because it will impact on all users regardless if they have BI or not. So that is the last thing we want. So we will be testing it. We will incrementally add in terms of the frequency of the updates, but as we add to it, we will be monitoring and testing it and making sure that it has as little impact, if ideally no impact, on your day-to-day usage, before we keep adding those frequencies to it. So what we would love for it to do is that it would update, every hour or even every half hour. But again, I mean, that's the goal that we wanted to have to get through to. How long it takes for us to get there will be dependent on the tests that we do as we add the frequency to it. So just keep that in mind. We do want it to be working seamlessly and instantaneously as much as possible. So, when we look at what you can get for this, you don't actually have to take this to anyone. It automatically updates for you, and that you don't actually have to pay for anyone to provide this information. I think for the cost of the software, which is, I think, just under $100 a month, $110 a month, to have this kind of data that's available to you on a day-to-day basis is just amazing value for you guys. So we love it. We're excited about it. We're excited to bring more of it to you guys. But like I said, any information or any requests or feedback, please let us know. We do want to hear of them all, and then we may even have a chat to you further down the field when we do go to. As I said, we've got a lot of phases of this that we're going to develop, and if any of those feedbacks fall into the phases that we have planned at the moment, then we'll probably be in contact just to ask you a few more details on how it actually will work. And a lot of the times, everything in workshop software is interlinked, and so whenever we change one report, we need to find out, well, how does it affect something else? So there's a lot of investigation involved, and we want to make sure if we do an update that it does what we want it to do and what we expect it to do, and also what we potentially may not have expected it and then realize we want it to do. So there's a lot of sort of investigation and testing before something actually goes live. But like I said, we'd love to find out more from you guys as you use it. This session is being recorded. It has gone a lot longer than I thought it would, so I do apologise for taking out the extra time from you, but hopefully it is being worthwhile for you. Like I said, it's being recorded. I will send that out for you shortly, so that you can have a look and review this. Does the cost carry over from Xero to make it an accurate cost? I will need to double check with our team in terms of, I suppose, because there will be supplies or incidentals that you put into Xero that you may not have in workshop software. So any utilities that you might have that you pay through Xero that aren't in workshop software, then it may not give you a full picture. But I'll have a chat to the team, Sarah, and I'll get back to you on that one. So any other questions before I end the Zoom call? No problems, you're welcome. Hopefully, like I said, I haven't caused too much of a headache for you. It's a lot of information. I'll leave it there. I'll end the call now, but like I said, any questions, feel free to get in contact with us. Thanks for your time, guys.